Yeah. Churches of the session.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. Are we ready to get started? Everything good, Ash? Okay, great. Welcome. My name is Prema Karolis. I am the co-founder of 36 Winery, and I am the current president of the board. And I wanted to take just a couple minutes to sort of frame up the meeting for today. I'm very excited to be here. We have over 120 RSVPs today, which is incredible. To me, that's an indication of the commitment and interest and concern behind Sonoma County Vintners and the importance of our community of vintners. Looking forward to walking you through the state of the union today and also creating that sort of vision for the future. I think it's clear that we're in a time of radical change industry-wide, and that absolutely applies to the Sonoma County Vintners as well. For the past 6 months, probably actually the past year, and certainly in earnest over the past 4 months, your board of directors, and it was really important to me that we have this on the screen so you can really understand who is behind this work right now. We've been working in earnest to revision and first to self-audit ourselves as the Sonoma County Vintners, and then to revision what the future can look like. And I want you to know that these people, I've never been so honored to be on any board before in my life. This board has been meeting every single week for months. And in addition to that, your executive committee has also been meeting every single week for months. So the importance of that is that there is an incredible wealth of wine industry leadership behind these changes. And we're really excited about the future for this organization and believe that this organization can really help steer and support the wine industry as we continue to navigate these very rough waters. So today, what we want to make sure we accomplish is to give you the rationale behind some of the changes. All of you received an email on Friday. There have been changes to our team. We have realigned and resized our organization to meet our financial goals and also to create the team that we believe can lead us forward and continue to offer the services that we have historically provided and expand and deepen them as well. So that being said, I want to hand it over to Emily to we're going to kick it off by a financial overview so you guys have a clear picture of where we are and where we're headed. Emily.
So I drew the short straw and get to talk to you guys about the financial. I probably get to talk about all the fun stuff. Okay, so we wanted to share the financials first to really ground everyone in a shared understanding of where we've been and what our path forward is. And I want to start with 3 financial principles that will guide us going forward. And I think these principles will help to frame the context for some of our historical numbers. And then they'll also, I think, demonstrate some context for the plan that we're building going forward. I think you can also infer that these principles haven't always been applied with kind of the same intentionality that we're planning to going forward. And there's no judgment there. It's just to demonstrate that we're an evolving organization and we want to move forward with as much clarity and confidence as possible. So the first principle is to align our operating costs with sustainable revenue. And this is about making sure our annual work matches with what we can reliably get in terms of income. So we're a membership organization. And other than membership dues, there isn't a lot of predictable income that we can, that we can rely on. So to stay healthy, we need to make sure that we've got programs and staffing and structure that's aligned with what we can depend on, rather than, optimistic assumptions or kind of these one-time things or event income, which kind of comes up and down. So I think this approach will bring more stability and give us a clearer view of what we can confidently sustain year after year. The second principle is maintaining a clear separation between Sonoma County Vintners funds and Sonoma County Vintner Foundation funds. And I want to be really clear that we have solid accounting for each. These are separate entities. We've got separate accounting for each. This is more about reinforcing the principles that these two organizations have different purposes. And to the extent possible, we want to make sure that their resources are distinct. So in recent years, the Vintners has used foundation support to cover some of our operating expense. So for at least the past 2 years, that's been about 45% of our overall overhead is being covered by the foundation. So that's mostly like personnel, rent, things like that. And that was, fully transparent, aligned with past board direction and fully legal. At the same time, the current board that we have now feels very strongly that moving forward, we use foundation funds for community impact rather than ongoing operating expenses. Okay. So I think rebalancing that will help both organizations, the Vintners as well as the foundation, really stay true to our individual missions. And the last principle is strengthening our financial stability and discipline. And so this isn't about cutting or adding. This is more about our processes and making sure that we're planning ahead, that we're managing risk, that we're prepared for volatility that's happening in our industry right now. And it's also about, for us on the team level as well as the board level, establishing a cadence and accountability that keeps us on track. And ultimately what we're trying to do is make sure that every decision we make is in the good of our long-term health and not just short-term fixes. So with these principles in mind, we're going to take a look at the numbers, but I do want to caveat, before we jump into the numbers, I do want to caveat by saying that there's some noise in our numbers, and I'm going to take you through kind of why you're seeing what you're seeing. And so I spent a lot of time looking at the financials. We spent a lot of time with the board discussing the financials, and it seems like we spent an equal amount of time talking about what is the easiest, most digestible way to share these financials with you so that, we don't have to take all morning to explain them. And so we tried to streamline them as much as possible so that, you can see them and understand, but it's also going to take some explaining. So bear with me as I work through it. Okay. So first, for historical perspective, we're going to look at Sonoma County Vintners, and then we'll look at the foundation. So for the Vintners, this is a chart that looks at our revenue. You see mine, which is the blue line, expenses, the orange line, and then our EBITDA. And so you can see starting in 2023, around here, that our revenue and expenses started to move out of alignment. And since then, our spending has exceeded revenue by about $200,000 to $250,000 per year. On the foundation side, next slide. Thank you. On the foundation side, similar story on paper, where there's actually some different dynamics that are happening here. So for backgrounds on the foundation, we really have one source of income, and that is the Sonoma County wine celebration that we have every September. So the high water mark for that event was in 2019, which is not on this chart. 2019, we made $6.1 million at the auction. Then we had COVID, which is here. And since then, you know, we've had some ups and downs, but we've generally trended in a downward direction, and it's all been sub $2 million. So that's the background. The way that we've done the financials is that we have the auction in September, and then we give out grants the following spring from that auction. But rather than accrue for the grants in the prior year, we recognize the grants in the year that the money is actually paid out. So for instance, here, right, in 2019, we made this 6.1 million. And then this operating expense reflects not the income that we actually made this year, but the prior year's auction income. So it's been a little confusing to piece apart, and we're not really comparing apples to apples. We're comparing our grant paid for by a previous year's auction with what we made in the current year. So as the numbers have gone down, this puts us in this sort of, you know, negative EBITDA territory. So we're gonna fix that. But I do want to call out that it makes 2025 look particularly bad, because we've essentially got, in order to catch up, we've got two different grant cycles in there in one auction. But it should be good moving forward. Okay. So this is our income statement. We've got the vintners on the top, the foundation on the bottom. We're looking at 2024 for some historical perspective, 2025 forecast, and our fiscal year ends December 31st, and then our 2026 budget for both organizations. So for Sonoma County Vintners, you can see, as I mentioned, our operating income, or the loss, has been there for the past couple of years. And then our 2026 plan reflects a more focused budget that still allows us to do some great programming. And part of that strategy is pausing one of our most expensive programs, and that is Taste of Sonoma. So we're doing this so we can step back, reimagine what that event looks like, and make sure that it deserves meaningful impact when it returns. So we lost money on Taste of Sonoma this year, but I think more importantly, we received a lot of feedback about the event. And that is that it is a well-loved event, but it's also a really big one. And having sort of that meaningful one-on-one engagement with consumers is really hard when there's over 100 wineries there and so many people, and this happens a single day. So we've got some other consumer programs that we're really, really excited to share with you when we get into our 2026 plan. And then moving to the foundation, again, you can see this really negative number. And that again is because of the grant expenses. We've got two different grant expenses in that number. So we've got the grants that we paid earlier this year in the spring from our 2024 auction. And then we're also accruing for the grants that we will make next spring from our 2025 auction. And then for next year, you can see we don't have a lot of activity. And so we made the decision to pause another big event, which is the Sonoma County Wine Celebration. And this is not a decision that we made lightly. We have had lots of conversations about it, but we thought it was really important to put our full attention into our vintner community. So we still want to support the broader community, and we will look for thoughtful and opportunistic ways that we can do that next year. But really, we want to prioritize and focus on our members and our immediate wine community. And I'm sure we will bring back the auction at some point in a reimagined way. So the foundation will continue to operate, but again, not a lot of proactive initiatives will happen against it, but there will be some ongoing maintenance expenses. And so I just want to close the financial part by saying that, you know, our cash position for both entities is really healthy. We have reserves, but they're not infinite, right? And so even though we're in a stable place today, we want to focus on being thoughtful and being prudent about how we use our resources going forward. And I think our 2026 plan, you'll see, is meaty, but it's really focused. And I think, Brenda's gonna talk about it and the rest of the board will talk about it in a minute, but really, really focused on providing value to our membership, especially during a really tough time that a lot of people are experiencing. So with that, I'll give it back to Prema to talk about values.
So this is, these are the values that have shaped the discussion on the board, and it's honestly, these are the values that have shaped the Sonoma County Vintners. We added number 5 this year, which is value add. And I'll just read it for those of you that I just want to hear it, honestly. We believe that every action should create meaningful benefit for our members, our partners, and our broader community. And so what we've done this year is we've literally canvassed as many members as we can. We've canvassed our sponsors. We've talked to hundreds of people involved in this organization to understand where is the value and where is the value missing. And it's time to, some of the feedback that we had, and many of you, thank you for participating in our survey, because that was really helpful, really meaty information for us. And honestly, it confirmed what us as your board, we are members too, we are vintners. It confirmed what we already knew, is that there needs to be more focused value for our vintner community and more aligned vision towards the future of how our industry is going to strengthen and sort of and rebuild in a sense. So value add is really important. We want to make sure that as members, you are clear on what the value is to your organization, to your team at every level. And then innovation, sustainability, adaptability, and dedication have always really driven our work here. So this being said, this is the sort of context for the conversations that we had. The board spent an entire day offsite discussing our plan for 2026. And we came out of that meeting with a number of really important imperatives, things that we had to provide in order to be doing our jobs. So that's on the next slide. And we're going to hear from some of the other board members about what our strategic imperatives are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alexandra O'Gorman. I'm happy to be a part of the board and this big evolution that we're going through as a county. The first thing that we discussed and kind of honed in on is that we need to strengthen our relationships and our true engagement. And it's not just with our members, it's also with our partners, our sponsor partners, our community partners, and also the trio. So we've already begun conversations with the wine growers. We have a meeting this afternoon with tourism. We're really excited to know that all of us are going to be heading in the right direction. But more importantly, it's about the members and really making sure that you guys are engaged. Looking at Adam Lee out there, we're going to be getting back to the original way that the vintners started, where we have member engagements on communities. Adam will most likely be on the marketing community, or excuse me, the committee, or maybe the head of it, we'll see. And so we want to get that started again, make sure that our members are engaged, make sure that we're listening to everybody and making sure that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction. I look out there and I see Jesslyn from the Russian River AVA. We want to actually engage with our AVAs more. Our AVAs are really powerful. We have 17 of them here in Sonoma County. It's important that we're all working together, that we're all uplifting one another, and that we really try and understand the importance of each individual spot and how we can actually highlight those. For those of you who have participated in the Corn Explorer activations that Chris Sawyer has been leading, that's been a great way for us to engage with media, but also a great way for us to kind of highlight what's been going on around our community, not just with the various varietals, but also with the AVAs. So that's going to be one of the ways that we're moving forward. We're also going to be meeting on a monthly basis and sharing with all of you in a more transparent way how we're bringing about those relationships and continuing to grow and engage. So on to number 2.
Hi, folks. Mike Sullivan, also been on the board for a while.
delivering lasting value. This is an organization that's been around since the 40s and has been the marketing, arm of our vendors over the last 80 years. And one thing through this process over the last year, we really want to drive back to prioritizing value, lasting value for our membership. We're gonna talk a little bit about some of the collective bargaining that we've done with some of our sponsors to work on pricing, selective pricing for members. When it comes to packaging and other services, as a value added for this organization. I think that's really important. Transparency and trust has been something that Prema and our team has been very focused on, and the transparency in terms of the finances and what you're getting for your dollars is very important to us. And through the survey and all of our outreach to members, we've gotten a lot of great feedback in terms of programs that we're working towards in the future. Getting back to some of the great programming that we've done in the past. It's going to take time, it's going to take money, and it's going to take a lot of energy and effort. So we're excited about it, and I hope you are too.
Hi, I'm Julie Romberg. I'm on the executive committee. I think hopefully you guys are seeing that we are leading with spirit of transparency about our financials, and a lot of the work in Prema is correct. We have been meeting weekly as a board, also weekly as the executive committee, a lot to really tease out and understand the reality of the past, the financials of where we stand today and what is possible for the future, and also realistically what we can do as an organization. And we all are knowing that, things are tough for everyone right now. And so we want to make sure that every dollar that comes into this organization is working as hard as possible. So what we've been doing in the past few weeks or few months, we plan to continue in the spirit of rigorous financial management, transparency, and sharing with you so you see where the dollars are going, and also the effectiveness of the program. I think that was one of the big ahas that we had when we started to tease out what was the ROI of some of these events that we were doing, the big ones and the small ones. And, was it something that was cash positive, or was it a drain on the organization financially? And then also to our membership community. There were things that didn't cost a lot, but added a huge value. How could we do more of those? So really leading with the dollars first and making sure that we are responsible leaders as the board to make your membership dues work as hard as they can. So hopefully we're sharing a little bit of that with you today, and that will continue going forward. All right. Awesome. So now to the meat of it.
I think we're gonna kick it off with Mike Martini, who heads up our government relations.
What's the sound of one hand clapping? I'm from the government and I'm here to help you, huh? One of the best lives ever. Listen, my name is Mike Martini and I have the honor of chairing the Governmental Relations Committee for the Vintners. Just a show of hands, if you would, please. Everybody who's had an incredibly positive, productive, and efficient interaction with Permit Sonoma, raise your hand. Yeah. That's pretty much what I thought. The bad news, believe it or not, it could be worse. And enter the Governmental Relations Committee of the Vintners. It's been around for a number of years. And I think probably the first one where we had some impact was in help drafting the winery events ordinance. We didn't get everything that we wanted, but we didn't get screwed as badly as we could have. The other thing that the committee has focused on is creating relationships. And those relationships with the electeds and the officials at Sonoma County are imperative. And those relationships can't be based on just because you've got a bitch or a gripe to do it. And it's gotten to the point now where Mike Haney, as a past executive director, or myself, or other members of the committee, will actually get phone calls and heads up from supervisors and from other officials at the county in anticipation, and they're asking our advice, and that is critical. What things that we're working on right now that I think are going to be the most benefit and start to address those value adds that we're doing it. For small and medium-sized winery, the costs of compliance with the winery order is staggering. And working with State Senator Mike McGuire's office, as well as the State Water Board staff and the regional board staff, we have identified a waiver. A waiver, basically, it's a get out of jail free card that's tied to the ratio between your production of wine volume to your production of processed water. This is going to be, I think, a substantial game changer. And there's about 20 wineries right now who are already taking advantage of this waiver. We will be sending that notice out to the membership of the vintners soon. The board's got to review my draft and edit it. I suck at writing. But we're going to get that out. The other issue that's coming forward with is absolutely critical is the Sonoma County general plan is being updated. This is an incredible opportunity to guide changes in that document that support the agricultural and wine community here in Sonoma County and to recognize the contribution that the wine community does provide to the county. Even to the extent that Supervisors Hopkins and Gore have formed an ad hoc committee of the supervisors just to address ag issues moving forward. And working with the Farm Bureau and others, we have started to compile a list of issues and action items that can be taken by the county to support the wine community. My contact information is in the packet. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to have you join us. I caution you with that wonderful but true saying, once you see how government is made, it's like sausage. You'll never eat it again. But join us, and it's going to be critical that our voices are heard over the next couple of years to maintain the wine community. Thank you.
Alrighty, it's gonna be hard to follow up government relation. All right. I think a lot of you do know me, but my name is Ashley Boyle and I am the newly imagined Events and International Programs Manager. So previously you worked with me and my role is with trade relations, which I will be continuing on and working with you guys in that facet, but we're also going to be adding on some of the other incredible programs to my role as well, like our critic tasting, Scions, the Pour and Explore events. So any of those events and programs, you'll be, unfortunately for you guys, hearing from me a lot more than you already have been, but very excited to be working on this exciting plan for 2026. So even though I said I am going to be working on more than just barrel auction and international programs, I am going to be presenting on the barrel auction and our international program. So we're going to kick off with the Sonoma County barrel auction, which is going to be reimagined for 2026. We thought it was really important to still continue on doing this program and this event for a few reasons. I mean, in the sense of being transparent, I mean, the barrel auction is our largest revenue driving event for Sonoma County Vintners. It's also the second revenue driver behind membership. So we just found it was really important for our organization. So we were able to fund all of these amazing programs and marketing things that we do for the county. Why does barrel auction exist? So barrel auction exists for many reasons, but it really exists to connect our wineries and our community with local, national, and international trade, which in return really benefits everybody because it elevates the Sonoma County wine community across the globe, which is really important, and that trickles down for all of us. It also, the barrel auction is an opportunity for wineries of all sizes. You could be a winery that's not even in distribution, but I can, if you want to get me on a call, I can talk to you about all the benefits that barrel auction can still have for you and your winery and why it's important to participate. So we say newly imagined. What does that mean? You're probably looking up here seeing a lot of dates. Don't let that scare you. What we've been hearing and getting a lot of feedback on is that the barrel auction is a really big time commitment. In person, we have 2 full days of events. So we have the full day of the preview event historically and the full day of the actual auction. So what we wanted to do is kind of break these things up and then also move the barrel auction itself to be virtual. So what is that going to look like?
what we're looking at is still keeping the same kind of timeline, so the April 28th to May 1st for in-person events, and then the following week, looking at doing that virtual auction. So on the first day, we'll still host that Founders Circle dinner, so that's when trade come, and this is for some of our top, I guess, VIP, longest standing supporters that come to this dinner, and it's kind of a kickoff for a couple days of events. We're still looking at continuing that. And then on April 29th and May 1st, we're gonna break the preview event up into some smaller tasting events. So we'll have 3 different sessions, 3 different venues. Those will be separated into kind of like AVAs and regions. Except for our participating wineries, what that means for you guys is you're not gonna have to be there for full 2 days. You're just gonna have to be participating and being there for one of those sessions. So it's either a morning, an afternoon, or the second day morning. So we thought what will be exciting about that is it's gonna open up some time for you to actually invite trade to come to your wineries so you can sit down with them, maybe take them to lunch between sessions and kind of give some of that time back to you guys to really make those meaningful connections in that way. The second day, we'll still host those vintner dinners, co-host and collaborate, and we'll kind of do matchmaking with wineries to do those vintner dinners. We've gotten some good feedback on those, so we definitely wanted to make sure we're continuing that. Something I'm really excited about and an opportunity we're looking at is looking at doing educational seminars before the sessions. So maybe we have, Jocelyn, I feel like you always get picked on, but we can work with our AVA partners to maybe do an hour-long Russian River Valley neighborhood seminar before these sessions that the trade can come to. So really looking at those partnership opportunities with our AVAs to get involved more as well. So kind of the meat in what the auction it looks like moving into the following week. So we've all done the virtual auction, and this is something also not to compare, but Napa has had success in as well doing their barrel auction online. So this isn't something that's completely new for our trade. But I think what'll be really cool by moving it to the following week and also virtual, it gives us a lot of follow-up opportunity and also our participating wineries follow-up opportunity to then engage with the trade while they're doing their bidding and just making sure that they can still be involved. So we heard you, and we understand that it's a huge lift, and we have smaller teams, it's a lot to ask everybody to be there for 2 full days. And so I think this is still going to, help Sonoma County vintners be still a revenue driver and also really elevating the perception of Sonoma County and Sonoma County wine. So we really thought it was going to be important to continue on with this program. All right. International program. So the Sonoma County Vintners International Program, I just want to make clear for everybody, would not be possible without our partnership with California Wine Institute. So we work really closely with the California Wine Institute with this program because they are given a grant through the USDA. It's the Market Access Program, and they share their valuable grant resources with us. So that is how we are able to operate and make sure our international program comes to life. And while, I understand that maybe not everybody can participate or wants to, but I think something that's important, kind of like the barrel auction, to reiterate about international programming and international marketing, is that it really puts Sonoma County on the global stage. And Sonoma County on the global stage is a trickle-down effect, right? And a rising tide really raises all boats. And I think, even though this might not seem like it's for you right now, but elevating the perception of Sonoma County wines is going to help your winery and is going to bring people here to come visit your winery. So we did think it was still really important to keep that relationship with California Wine Institute and move forward with our international program. And I just want to reiterate, we are not taking any resources out of our general Sonoma County Vintners budget to allocate to this program. So like I said, we're given this grant, and then there is an additional fee to join the international membership program that then offsets some of these expenses like employee travel and things like that. So it's a great value add that we're going to continue on, but I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that that's how we operate with financially for this program. So what are we doing for 2026? Some really exciting things. In February, we'll be attending Wine Paris, which is a large trade show. I'm sure some of you have heard of Pro Wine. I don't want to say Pro Wine is out, Pro Wine is not out, but from the feedback that we've gotten, Wine Paris has seemed to gain more interest than Pro Wine. And so we're allocating some resources to have a shared Sonoma County Vintners booth there. So we have 5 vintners who will be traveling with us that might not necessarily be able to have the opportunity to go on their own, because we can cost share and make it a little bit more obtainable for some of these smaller wineries as well. So we'll be going to Paris. In April, we'll be doing some trade and consumer events in London. We've already engaged with California Wine Institute and are working with some of the reps in those markets. The dates that we have chosen for this are aligned with some of their capstone programming that they're doing. So we'll be able to expand and increase kind of our visibility there with some of the programs they're already doing as well. In June, we are going to Oslo, Norway. We've had, for the past couple of years, some great engagement with the Norwegian market, and we've had them actually attend some of our barrel auction. We've had them come for some other programs, and so we just felt that it was really aligned for us to now go out into market and engage with them in their home turf. I almost said that with an accent. In October, we'll be participating in Global Buyers Marketplace, which is a California Wine Institute driven program. It's a week long. California Wines brings 100 global trade and media to California. They usually host a 2-day conference in Napa. I'm not sure if it's going to continue in Napa, but we'll have a shared Sonoma County Vintners table where we can have vintners who are there pouring for all of these trade. And then last year, we were able to host 2 Sonoma County fam tours. So we had 50 global trade here in Sonoma County visiting wineries. Not sure what 2026 is going to look like, but we've been guaranteed that we'll be definitely participating in a similar scale of what we did last year, this year. And then for ongoing in 2026, something that is great that, again, our partnership with CWI allows us to do is these global market fam tours. So for example, on Friday, we have a group coming in from Vietnam. It's a group of sommeliers, and CWI reached out to us to see if we wanted to plan a half day of educational programming. So that allows us to open it up to our international members to sign up, to participate and be a part of that and get in front of these trade. And these are things that kind of go throughout the year. In January, we'll have a group from Norway. We usually have a group coming from Mexico. Last year, we had a whole European sommelier tour. So these are kind of, they come up throughout the year, but we usually host around 5 or 6 in our partnership with CWI. So when you're reviewing, if this sounds interesting and fun, just make sure you click that little box to join the international program, and we'd love to get your wines on the global stage. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming today. I am Kelsey McNeil. I was the Director of Partnerships, and now I'm going to be the Director of Business Development. So I'm going to continue to work with our partners, short-term, long-term. We really look at finding sponsors and partners throughout the year that not only help us from a revenue standpoint, but give a lot of resources to our vintners. So that is our goal moving forward. As you know, with all the transparency we've been talking about, like, we have to be scrappy. We have to find ways to be creative and resourceful, and our partners really allow us to do that. So moving forward, we're going to look at expanding that, adding more value to our vintners, as well as helping it support our all of our events and programs. So Ashley went over barrel auction and international. Basically, something that we explored last year was our Pour and Explore programs. It has been extremely successful, and it's allowed at least 25 to 40, depending on venue capacity, vintners to participate in each one, and that's 10 different consumer opportunities every year. So we're going to continue with that. It's a really fun way to have it be educational, varietal focused. We're going to continue with that throughout the rest of the year. We do have one coming up in December 11th at Goya Ferrer. So if you haven't signed up to participate in that already, please do. It's a really great opportunity. Again, depending on venue capacity, we have roughly around 200 consumers at each event. give or take. So I think it's just continuing to build, and it's something that has been a very low overhead for us as an organization and a really nice revenue stream. So moving forward, something new we want to introduce is from like an educational standpoint, not just having it be varietal specific, but throwing in some AVA grouping. So having a couple months where we group a handful of AVAs and show what that region has to offer rather than a single varietal. With that, we're looking at moving dates, maybe having them on different, maybe Fridays possibly, adding in some possible like winemaker dinners around that weekend. Just giving a lot more opportunities for our vendors to participate and to have more consumers come into the region. And then we've been talking a lot about value, adding more value to our members. Something we currently do, well, first, we never put a name on it, so we're calling it a member value program. So in that, we have our current value added programs. These are programs that we offer to all of our members at no additional cost. Critic tastings, our Scion educational programs, wine submissions, media hosting opportunities, and our social media amplification that Barb does a really great job at. Again, she'll speak to that, but making sure that if you have things going on, we're helping elevate that and spread that to the community as well. In addition, for something new this year that we have been working on for the last couple months is our, I'll go to the next slide. Sorry, thank you. A value savings program. Again, not an additional cost, but something that can help reduce your operational costs as an organization. What we're doing is we're partnering with companies. We've already had a lot of initial conversations with, labeling companies and different wine and food experiences, media, advertising, things that we can offer you as an organization, discounted rates, preferred rates, ways that you can help lower your costs. So with that, what we would like to do, because we've already had initial conversations, we've been brainstorming, with the board and our team of what those buckets, so to speak, look like. But just so we could get a pulse on the room and everyone on Zoom, I'd love to just get your feedback initially. What we would like to see is and of course, we all want to save money. We all want to, there's everything, right? It'd be great if everything could be discounted, but what would be helpful for you? And that changes year to year, month to month. So we understand that that's an ongoing thing, but we have marketing and advertising, shipping, fulfillment, and logistics, like our technology software, training, HR and operational resources, packaging, and then lodging and transportation. And the idea behind the lodging and transportation is not only to help you as a winery, if you're going out into different markets to, reduce rates on your lodging and transportation, but maybe even passing that on to your consumers so that you can give them an extra benefit to come stay with you. So we're doing an online poll. This is a multiple choice, but I'd love to see a raise of hands, and we're going to take notes so that we can bring this back. But for value saving services, which ones matter most to you? A raise of hands for marketing and advertising. Okay, so we have 4 or 5. Shipping, fulfillment, and logistics. 7. Technology and software tools like your POS systems, reservations. Great, okay. About 12, 15, yeah. And then training, HR, and operational resources. Couple. And then packaging, bottles, corks, labels, etc. That's, yep, yeah, thought that would be a big one. And then lodging and transportation. Okay, great. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, we're going to continue to buff out this program, get as many resources as possible, not just access to them, but actual hard savings. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Morning, everybody. I think I know a lot of you, but I'm Barbara Cox, and my former title was Director of Marketing and Communications. It's still a little bit, I'm basically doing that, but I am going to be more in charge of communications and engagement. So I'm going to be working with you a lot on the members on the engagement side. You see that, but a lot with the PR and social media and marketing aspects. What I wanted to do was to touch on a couple things of how we can help maximize your membership from a PR communication standpoint. And there are a few things, In charge, sorry. So we've broken them out into different categories. There's a lot of information on these slides. We will be sending this presentation to you tomorrow with a recap. So you'll have all this information, but I'll touch on a couple of these so that you can see kind of where we can help you. First off is media milestone. If you're experiencing an anniversary that's coming up, anything like that, please share with us because we can act as an arm for you to amplify your message with these media that are contacting us. I get calls all the time. What's going on in the county? Is there something interesting that we can write about? Some of them are more time sensitive. Others are longer lead times. Some are more news, wine news. Some are more lifestyle. So just keep that all in mind. You can feel free to shoot me an email and just send me some information. And I'm happy to keep that in the back of our files in our library so that we can share that out. The next one is based on kind of events and program promotion. So we definitely will have an SCV marketing toolkit that you're welcome to use. In that toolkit, there will be our logo, there'll be some media to the events. So they range from local to national to international media. And a great example of that was last week at Porn Explore. Last Thursday, we had 16 media representing, wine publications, lifestyle, and whatnot, which is great. So we really encourage you at these events to engage with these media. It's a great opportunity for you to talk to them, pitch your story. They want to hear about you, about your winery, about your wine. So you will be able to recognize them through credentials that they'll be wearing, which indicate that they're media. And then usually the day before an event, we'll send out a profiles of all the media that are coming. So you get a little background of who they are, what they're writing about. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. We're happy to share those out. We do our best now, like I'll go through and I'll look at the feeds and I'll share what I can. But if you tag us, I'm sure to see it. If you don't tag us, I might not see it. So it's a way. We have over 10,000 followers on Instagram and it's growing. And then we have over 7,000 on Facebook. The next one is regarding media and PR requests. So again, we get a lot of requests for interviews. We always keep you guys in mind. We'll talk to the media. We'll find out what they're looking for. We'll contact you and we'll ask you if you want to participate in an interview before we commit to anything. But these sometimes are really timely requests, things that happen that they need answers, sometimes within hours. Sometimes there's a little bit longer. Maria Hunt last week at Porn Explore who came, she's known as Bubbly Girl. That's her handle on Instagram. She writes for Wine Enthusiast, among others. She called me on Monday. Thursday was the event. She needed a place to stay. She wanted to come to Porn Explore. She lives in the East Bay and didn't want to drive home that night. So I reached out to, she said, do you have any contacts? Reached out to our partners at 32 Winds and Mascarin who have helped us out before. Joy got back to us immediately. Thanks, Joy, if you're here on the phone. And had a great experience. Maria was really appreciative and it gives you an opportunity to promote your winery to them and your wines, which was great. And then lastly is just staying connected. So I know we're really trying to streamline the number of emails that you guys receive, but those are critical as far as relaying information to you about these opportunities, whether they be wine submissions for Arizona Daily Sun, Vine Pair, Rob Report, all of that stuff is in those emails. There's also event invites and promotional opportunities. So definitely take a look at them. Some of them are time sensitive, so we want to get them out to you so that you have an opportunity to respond and to send your wines in if it is a wine submission. And then finally, many of you may know this. I think we have over 135 people on our SCV members only Facebook group page. And this was a page that was created a couple of years ago. And the idea was for us to be able to share information with you, but we also wanted it to be a networking tool for you guys so that you can go onto this page. If you have information, if you're hosting an industry event that you want to publish.
Progress over the past few weeks on building stronger partnership relationships. And I think in particular, the trio, we have a really renewed momentum and energy around that relationship. So I think Alexandra mentioned it, but this afternoon in this room, for the first time in a long time, we'll have the board of the vintners, the board of the wine growers, and the board of tourism getting together. It's the first of a series of meetings that we'll have to talk about winery tourism in Sonoma. And then last week, the week before, it's all blur. Last week, I believe, For the first time, again, in many years, we had the executive committee of the vintners meet with the executive committee of the wine growers. And we had a great productive joint meeting, and we aligned on deeper collaboration. And we also clarified our respective lanes in terms of what we're doing. And honestly, it's not really that different than, you know, what you've seen and what we have been doing, but the difference is in the agreement around collaboration to add more value. So the wine growers will continue to lead, because it's a very dynamic, rich time, and we're having lots of great conversations. So we kind of have two parallel paths going. That is our short-term plan when it comes to collaboration, and again, it's evolving. There's a lot more to come there, but I think we're off to a great start. Long term, we also have important challenges to tackle. So one question we get asked a lot is, what is happening with the WID, which is the Wine Improvement District, or the Business Improvement District plan that started off earlier this year. So for some, I know it's a sensitive subject, and I want to acknowledge that I think there were some challenges to the process as it rolled out earlier this year. But it's been really interesting. A lot of this happened before I joined, but since then, it's been really interesting to see all the questions that come out about sort of the broader structure and the role that we're sort of all playing, all of the organizations are playing in our ecosystem in our county. So rather than rushing ahead, we're gonna pause, take a step back to look at the bigger picture. So what we'd like to do on the Vintner side, we would like to launch an initiative with an independent third-party research group to help us understand not only the role that the vintners can and should play in the county, but how do we all fit in as organizations across the county. So we have a pretty complex landscape. We've got a lot of different organizations, countywide organizations. We have some who have assessments, some who are membership-based. We've got a lot of individual sub-ABA groups, and it's a lot. And I think it's a fair question to ask around, are we organized in the most effective way for the future? So rather than rushing to a solution like the WID, we are going to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers and that we need some help. And so the outcome could be a WID, could be something completely different. I think what's most important is that we're talking to our stakeholders, big and small, historic, longstanding and new wineries as well, and really shaping the path forward together to explore all the opportunities that are out there. And so what I can say with certainty is that in 2026, we will be making no structural changes. We will be listening. We'll be engaging in the dialogue and really coming from a place of curiosity rather than assumptions. And so that means that while there won't be any changes, we know that our marching orders are to work more collaboratively with our partners across the county. So long-term work will be about asking bigger questions, finding the right structure for the future, and our short-term work is really clear. We're going to strengthen our partnerships. We're going to align efforts. We're going to reduce duplication as much as possible, and we're going to stay focused on delivering the most value to our vintner community as we can. So that's where we're headed as we're moving into 2026. With that, just a reminder, we sent out notifications about membership renewals last week. And so you should have an email with that. Any questions specific to membership, feel free to contact Barbara. And then we're also really excited to offer a referral appreciation discount this year. So whether it's another winery who has not been part of our organization in recent years or an affiliate, we will give a 20% credit off of your referrals membership if you're able to refer them. So we would appreciate that. And then just a reminder again, this is our group. Questions around events can go to Ashley, again, membership, media, things like that. Barbara, Christina, who's on leave, is she's our mighty accounting and operations manager. Anything billing, things like that can go to her when she returns in January. And then Kelsey, as she mentioned, partnership, business development, looking to optimize a lot of our programming and sponsorship. Any questions can go to her. And then me for all others, or anything that I mentioned, always feel free to send me an email. I'm happy to chat more. So with that, I think our formal presentation has concluded. And so we'd like to open it up to questions. And Ashley will be monitoring the chat too, in case there's questions online. Yes.
Thanks, everybody. Really helpful. Well, if you can, your title is interim executive director. We were told in the press release that you were here till, I think, January. What is the progress of hiring a full-time permanent executive director?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a really great question.
We're actually in conversations with Emily to extend and to get through this transition period a little deeper. And then define the job. So we wanted to present all of this to all of you, make sure we have alignment from membership, and then create the job description really. So that a search would really kick off in the new year. But nothing has been done as of yet towards hiring a new executive director.
Would you like to be on the committee?
I don't know.
We have had people reach out who are interested in the position, so there's a sort of collection of interested parties. But right now our focus has really been on who are we, what are we doing, how are we going to get it done, and then it feels like from that place it would be a better start in terms of finding who the leader for those programs would be.
There's a question about membership pricing, increasing, decreasing, or staying the same.
Staying the same. In addition to our 20% off for the referrals. So yeah, no change versus prior year. We didn't think it was the right time to do it.
Any other questions? For those who want to stay.
Oh, that's me. That's very specific.
Actually, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, wait.
Okay.
And
I think there was a question.
I
about
think the
grade
question is, who do they reach out to in that question? That's me.
Yep. Grade tasting questions can go to Ashley. We do not have the schedule for next year yet. Sometimes these, depending, can be a little bit more last minute than maybe we'd like, but certainly as we have opportunities that become available, we will be communicating that urgently to all those who are interested in participating.
A lot of feedback, it looks like, about the trio, and yeah, that's been really important to us. So it's clear we are the Vintner organization, and so we want to make sure that we have seats at every table. There's not a more important or urgent time for the needs and concerns, the challenges of the vintners to be represented. And I have to say, after our meeting last week with the executive committee of the growers, I have not ever been more excited about the alignment between like what we're trying to accomplish and the feeling like we actually can do that together.
Can you be
So-
more specific about that?
Yeah.
Like, what are the goals and like, where are each players looking to like go?
What are the
Like with
goals?
the trio, like, is there specific goals? Or are you just having general conversations?
Well, our first like all trio meeting is today.
Oh, okay, okay.
But with the growers, you know, the alignment is that ultimately we want to make sure that we are not duplicating efforts and that we are streamlining our resources and leveraging what we're doing to the best outcome for Sonoma County wine. And so for us, that includes the vintner universe. And of course, for them, they're focusing on growers. They have the winery collective. So, and then we have programs with our focus on local and international, and they're sort of in the middle at the national level. Then
you know, that gives us, even though the lanes were sort of already there, that gives us a lot more definition behind it. The other thing that we provide is actual support resources for wineries. That is not something that the growers are gonna start doing. So, you know, there's all of the trainings that we do, the government relations, they literally can't touch any of that. So, you know, so that's the sort of piece where like, okay, those are our obvious buckets that we need to continue to invest in. It just makes it easier for us to feel like, okay, great, you've got the national programs and then we can, you know, support each other back and forth.
Yeah. So early stages, I think they're like, we will have more specifics as time goes on. One of the challenges is, you know, we're coming to the end of our fiscal. It seems like it's no one else's end to their fiscal. Everyone's got different plans and different, you know, different parts of their calendar, of their fiscal year. And so I think it's great that like, it's dynamic. We're having these conversations. We wanted to talk about them, even though we don't have a ton of specifics at this point, because I think it points at what we can come up with in the next few months and deliver.
Also the capacity of the vintners, like we are now capable of really working together. And there were issues in the past that wasn't happening anymore. So
What were the issues?
I don't know. I wasn't here,
Oh.
but we weren't doing.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could get their stories, it's political this or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. There was some breakdown. There was a trio and then there was a breakdown and now there's a trio again. And like, we're in a very solid place with that. And there's a total alignment and that feels great. That's a big change.
So that was
And
my
also-
question, because I remember back then when there was a trio and
Yeah.
then there wasn't a trio. So
Yeah.
is there now a trio?
I wouldn't wanna put that out there, but what I would say is that all three entities are back at the table. And that's a huge next step.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like giving us a title and matching tattoos. I don't know if that's gonna happen yet. But it is important to know that we're all working together and that we all actually wanna row in the same direction to help Sonoma County drive tourism, bring more understanding and awareness to the wines that we have and the amazing place that we all live and love, and really work together to grow that.
Yeah, and bring wine tourism here,
Yeah, totally.
wine consumers.
Yeah.
Clay, you have a question?
You mentioned the opportunity for our members to participate in winery collective programs and vice versa. But as we're looking at, you know, uncertain financial times, you know, do you define that? Because, you know, when we're gonna make a choice, which organization are we gonna be a part of? You know, do we need to be a part of both, or does that fit small wineries' budgets? Good question. Great.
Yeah, well, we don't. Right now, we're in the sort of beginning phases of how we're participating in both, like. Being a member of Sonoma County Vintners does not give you access to all of the benefits of the winery collective and vice versa, right? But there's intentional representation at both. And so that is a very good question that you as a winery owner would have to ask yourself, like, what are your priorities? Like, do your priorities span the local market, the national market, and the international market? Then you should absolutely be members of both. Does your winery need the winery services that the Sonoma County Vintners provide? You know, there's a whole bunch of different things that you're checking out. If 100% of your marketing dollars need to go to national efforts, then that would, you know, then the winery collective is probably the way to go. I also think that for Sonoma County Vintners, there's always gonna be a case to be in both. Like, we are the voice of the vintners. That's not what the winery collective is. They are the voice of Sonoma County wine, which is great and super important, and they do a phenomenal job doing that. So, I know.
This gets to the bigger question that you said you feel like there's alignment for the first time.
Yeah.
That does not sound like alignment. We can't say that we're the voice of the vintners and they're the voice of Sonoma County wine.
No,
That is
they're not.
alignment.
No, sorry, they're not the voice of Sonoma County Wine. We collectively are the voice of Sonoma County Wines, but we are the vintner organization. So that is who we are. There's nothing out of alignment about that to me. That's how we are representing ourselves. That's the impetus behind everything that we do. And then together with the growers and now with tourism, we're working towards really representing Sonoma County wine broadly for the world. So.
And I think it's a fair question, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need to figure out some of these details. Is this an opportunity for wineries to say, hey, I may want to participate in the collective or collaborative, I think? next year, this is a way to sort of understand a little bit more about it. And then if I do want to make the investment, go for it, right? Could be something like that. I think, again, we just had the conversation last week. So a lot of details to sort of figure out on things. I think we took it as an initial win of like, hey, we're all at the same table and talking. Which is not something that we have done for the past several years, but fair questions, keep asking them, right? Like we need to think about these things, but ultimately it's how do we provide value, right? And we don't want to exist just to exist. We have to provide value. And so that's what we're trying to do. We've got other organizations who are providing value in their own ways. And I think as much as possible, our membership said, hey, we want you to go out on the road. We need some help with national. And it's like, wow, the wine growers they have a program. And if we can pool our resources together to make that even bigger and better, that's a better investment than us sitting in a silo, creating out their own programs. And so that's what we're trying to do.
I just want to add one thing to that. If you saw that poll there, when it came to conjunctive labeling or purchasing for labels or compliance or government relations, all of that, those are opportunities that only the vintners provides. If you find that beneficial for your family brand, join us. If you really want to be out there, like making sure that you're marketing to Chicago, absolutely join the collective. There are places for all of it, but the value that we add is something that they cannot do. We want to partner with them for the national marketing. Carissa and her team do an amazing job promoting Sonoma County in general, including growers like you. But if you're interested in all of the other value pieces that your small family-owned brand needs, you need to be a part of our vintner organization to keep it alive.
Can you tell me a little bit about your board of directors recruitment process, what it looks like this year, like seats opening, when it's gonna open up nominations, voting, all of that?
It's really funny that you asked that because we have literally been so focused that I don't even know. I don't know how to answer that. At some point, we're gonna have to review like whose terms are up because we have a couple of longstanding board members and then probably an email will go out to see if there are any people that want to join the board. I mean, the way that the board is operating right now is totally outside of normal. And we will continue to do that until we feel like there is like real true stability. And so that could be for the next 6 months, that could be for the next 2 years. I mean, I don't really know. So.
Yeah, thanks so much, you guys. This has been really great. I don't know if we answered this question, but has there been discussion about the vintners and wine growers coming together to create one organization, or is that completely out?
Yeah, go for it. Okay. Yeah, so the answer is yes, absolutely. That was discussed, even when we were talking about the width, of why aren't we doing this?
The question.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The question was, whether there have been discussions about the wine growers and vintners merging. Yep. And the answer is yes. We have absolutely had those discussions, that came up with when the WID was first brought to us. I think there's appetite. I can't speak, we are very different organizations. I think there is interest to find a way for all the groups within Sonoma County to operate in the most efficient, effective way for all of us, for the vintners, the growers, the partners, everyone. That is the ultimate goal. The vintners, we're a membership organization. We have a lot more flexibility. The wine growers has a lot more complexity. I think there are 21 board members. They are dictated by the commission. They have assessments. There's a lot more complexity for them. So that is a longer term question for them and their board to wrangle. Can that be done and how does that happen? So that's kind of where, I think there's openness for a dialogue to continue, but this is not a quick and easy decision. And this would probably, realistically take a couple of years to happen. But I think the spirit is there for how do we work collectively across all these organizations
so that we are not duplicating efforts, we are not taxing the community, because there's a lot of folks who are both growers and wineries. And, you know, in these tough times, it's to get hit multiple, you know, by your AVAs and your grower and your, you know, the vintners and tough decisions need to be made. So we're trying to really make sure there's collaboration and partnership. So everyone really feels like they're getting a lot of value, and it's all helping our businesses move forward. And that's really what we all want.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
more to come.
this initiative that we talked about for long term, right? Like, I don't think I don't want to speak for the board, but I don't think anyone has in their head, oh, we're gonna move forward and do this, right? That is a long, like, process. That is a long conversation. I'm sure every single person in this room has an opinion about that, and probably no one's is the same, right? And there's different nuances and different, you know, we're a big county, a lot of wineries, a lot of stakeholders. So that, like Julie said, I think there's appetite there, but that is a process that is not gonna happen tomorrow. And I think there's a lot of options on the table that we need to consider.
Going back to your conversation about the changes to the barrel auction, has there been any discussion about opening it up to consumers like the barrel auction used to be way back when?
Would you like to be on that committee?
But I do think there's some value to looking into it. And
Yeah.
some of.
I think that, like, the spirit is that we're open to evolution, and, you know, that, like, overall for the organization, the sort of rinse and repeat of many years, like when something worked and then was did the same way for a long time, that's really dumb. Like, we're like really interested in evolving every single thing that we do.
Looking into.
Yeah.
You know, it strikes me that some of your consumers that attended the auction for, you know, all those years and years and years might be very interested in buying a barrel from a winery. So is this something?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing about the auction, that we have plans to make sure we take care of those people that come here every year for the auction, that there's something in place for them to continue to connect and, you know, be greeted by their Sonoma County wine family. So, you know, we have the Omaha contingents, the head table, all these people, that there's a continued connection to us, and that they have a VIP reception, whatever that is, as we take this pause.
That's a great idea. And Kim, how long ago was that when the consumers were involved? Was it in the early?
I would say 20 years ago.
Okay. And do you know why the decision was made not to have consumers involved with the barrel auction?
They don't want to mix.
Oh, they don't want to
It
mix.
was trade.
Yeah, trade and consumers and separate. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be one barrel auction and everybody was invited, and I honestly don't remember. I mean, I'd have to.
Well, I think it was just the wine auction, and then you guys did the barrel auction as the trade, like.
Piece of it.
Yes,
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, it could be fun to mix.
And it was great. I mean, to be honest, I was recently looking in the cellar, and we still have a case of some wine that was part of a barrel that a couple bought from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And the label had their, you know, their name on it, the whole 9 yards, and, you know, that was a way that we built relationships with really dedicated, you know, wine consumers. I mean, it was a different era, obviously, but I just think it's something to at least talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a
Great suggestion.
To address one of the questions that came up on the screen, I just want to say that the AVA organization, relationship rests with the Sonoma County Vintners. So, we're excited to grow that relationship. We're actually going to be having meetings with the executive directors. Surprise, Jocelyn, when we start giving you guys calls, and on a regular basis, whether it's once a month to kick it off and then once a quarter, and really trying to figure out a way that we can partner and support one another in a better way. Again, trying not to do that duplication bit. So there you go.
Yeah, so the question online is, should we be putting most of our resources behind driving traffic? And also, I think a comment that it didn't seem like we were doing anything differently when it came to our programs. So again, maybe that goes to show it's a good idea to push pause, but you know, these two events that we are not doing this year are a substantial lift. From Samantha's here can speak to it, right? From a people standpoint, from a money standpoint, they're huge. And so putting a pause on those, because again, the feedback has been, there's impact, but we're not quite sure for right now. Doing it the way we've been doing it, that it's having the impact and the ROI that we would like, and there may be some other things. So I think maybe it's good if it doesn't feel like it's much different, but from a, certainly from our standpoint internally, it's very different. Yeah, is there a comment on that?
There is,
Yeah.
as a small winery making less than 4,000 cases, those two events are huge visibility. So for
Yep.
wineries that are members and we're taking away half of the programming that they rely on for visibility coming into this county.
Yeah.
And you're saying we're gonna put it on pause, it was a little like we're on life support here for the next year ahead without a plan or a vision for the 3-year, 5-year mark. In the future, knowing that historically the fundraising has been pretty high in 17, with Aspire being about 5 million that came in. 2019, which you mentioned, which was about 6 million. We faced fires, floods, COVID, and everything in between then and now. So what is the plan to replicate some of those activities in new ingenious ways going forward, along with the 3 lanes that Carmen would mention, and giving value to the small wineries that are the substantial portion of the membership. While they have a year without having that normal avenue to rely on visibility through 2 of the main functions of the event coordinations and the vendors we're in charge of.
So, so for us, the Foreign Explorers are, we've gone back and forth on the branding and the messaging, but you know, one way to look at it is we're essentially tasting Taste of Sonoma and we're spreading it over 10 different events, right? It's not going to be 1,000 people at each event. We're gonna have 200 people at each event. And that gives wineries, small wineries, it's a lot of what the participation has been at Port Explore, the opportunity to talk with consumers and to get them there.
And are you aware of the demographic that's attending those? Are we seeing out of area people that are substantially supporting ticket sales for those, or are those more regional sales?
Yeah, I think we have not done the demographics. What we have done is looked at the repeat, and we have seen that 75% of the people who are coming to Pour and Explore, it's their first Pour and Explore. Right, so we're not getting, I think that speaks a little bit to local traffic and non-local traffic. The other thing is though, is that we've done all of our Pour and Explorers this year on Thursdays. And I think, you know, again, we're open to feedback, as Kelsey mentioned. You know, I think I've been pleasantly surprised by how many out-of-town folks that we get coming in on Thursday, but we also think there's opportunities to do other days. We're gonna talk with tourism about, you know, winery tourism this afternoon. And I think that's a huge opportunity for us to do something on a Friday, for us to do something on a Saturday. It brings people here for the weekends and gets them excited about not just this Pour and Explore event, but go and see all the other wineries. And I think that's a real opportunity that we've seen in terms of amplification that certain wineries are able to do, is they meet people at Pour and Explore, come to our winery this weekend, right? And that's sort of a nice way of having an introduction for it. So I think there's some different things that we can do there. And so the format is not the same as Taste of Sonoma. And so I'll acknowledge that the look and feel is a very different event. But what we're trying to do is to get people here, to get them to taste our wines and experience some of our wineries, and hopefully, you know, make it a whole weekend event if we can. So
I guess my concern is that revenue that's being lost from taking away 2 large events. How is that?
So I think that's a really easy answer. So the 2 events, so sorry, are Taste of Sonoma, which lost money. So we did the ROI, it wasn't a good decision. So we're not gonna repeat it and take resources from other things. And the second you're talking about is the auction, where the revenue for that is to benefit the foundation. And what we found is going from 6 million to, you know, 1 million on an event that costs us almost as much to put on, isn't leaving us a whole lot of money left to donate, which is the purpose of the whole event. So, and I represent a small winery, so, you know, these are the hard decisions, like ultimately, financially, it just wasn't responsible going with those. We thought like there were other things that would benefit smaller wineries, partially to drive revenue in terms of exposure, events, drawing people into the community. And secondly, what can we do to help reduce expenses? So reduce things like the sexual harassment training that we need for all of our managers. If I don't have to pay $500 to do that and I can get that for free through the vintners, amazing. If I can get some collaborative purchasing with some of my dry goods, like my labels or my bottles or corks, amazing. So I think we were looking at it from both of those.
The other thing I want to add about the auction, which is like feedback that we got loud and clear, is that that is not just a heavy lift on our wineries because of the time that they put in, but we are the ones, we the vintners, who are building these auction lots and buying these auction lots. So there's, and over these 5 years that we're talking about, we have exhausted all of our large vintners and many of our medium vintners. And now we're working on the small ones. Like that just does not work. So we need to take a break on that. We cannot be, you know, calling you, asking you to put together auction lots that are worth $10,000, $20,000, $40,000. Like it's just not, that is so tone deaf to me. That, you know, they're the only option for us for the auction is to really put a pause on it. Plus, as important as our community is, and the wine industry has always been a superstar at supporting and caring about our local community, especially in Sonoma County. Like right now, we really do need to be putting our attention, time, and resources into our own universe. So that was the other side of thinking behind the auction. Like there are ways that we can bring consumers to you that are just much less expensive for you. So,
And us.
and us, yeah.
I had two things. One's kind of on a more practical level. You don't have to, you know, but it's fine. It's easy. One on the barrel auction, you were just talking about like collaborative, bringing people together. For really small wineries, sometimes giving up a barrel is hard to do that. And so maybe having some collaborative, like get together and do blending, you know, Murray blends together with Jeff or something, you know, and you could do a joint barrel. Is there a way to bring people together to do some of those things?
Absolutely. And right now our barrel auction is very rarely an actual barrel.
Right.
It'll be a 5K slot,
sure.
10K slot, 20K slot. So often in most of them, I think there's collaboration. So it might be two wineries working together on
It's just up to the
5K.
wineries pull each other together. If there was a place where, hey, here are wineries that are interested
Yeah.
in working together, maybe that could be, and make the lots more interesting, more unique.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Ashley, did you want to?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've always tried to do when doing lot recruitment. It's something that, you know, when we were talking about it, I've always said, like, if you're interested in collaboration, let me know. So then all of the people that are interested in collaboration, we can work together to make those connections. And we have seen it work really well. We've also really leaned on some of our ABA partners to kind of lead some of that. I know Wine Growers of Dry Creek Valley had a really successful lot where they had 5 different wineries from Dry Creek put together a Zen lot that was great. So we definitely want to keep encouraging that because I think that's also super interesting for trade as well. Yeah, so I mean,
And
we
in
would
the
love
new-
to see more of that.
Yeah, the new format where we're having trade visit various parts of the county, like that seems like a natural outcome of that, right? Where like, let's visit the West Sonoma coast and like, you know, and that would be a multiple vintners coming together for that. So, you know, and then the trade is getting sort of a deep dive into various areas, regions or varietals.
And same thing with consumers, Sarah. So if we did something in Dry Creek Valley, you know, obviously.
Yeah, that's, I
Looking
think
at
the
you.
concern is just the change in format, I understand.
Mhm.
There is an impact with smaller wineries who pay into the membership.
Yeah.
And who are taking essentially two of their large marketing opportunities for TTC.
Our hope is that we're gonna be adding more. That is our
I
intention.
hope so too.
And I'm looking forward to you being on the committee as well. Sarah.
Alexander's in charge of committee recruitment.
I have a bigger question too, which is, there's been a lot of talk between wine growers and vintners here. But I think tourism has got like double the budget of wine growers and vintners combined.
Yeah.
And so how's the interaction going there? I mean, I was just having the big meeting, but that's.
We'll
getting
let you know
people-
tomorrow.
Yeah, but getting people here to the county is a
Yeah.
huge thing,
Yeah.
and tourism with double the budget has that ability, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
We have, with the three initiatives, oh yeah, sorry, there we go.
So, on the last side, I'm the vice president of community engagement for Sonoma County Tourism. And do not speak for our board, but just want to first appreciate all of your time and attention and willingness to talk very candidly about the issues that your industry is facing. And we feel it acutely too. We look at tourism numbers are also down. We are excited to have the conversation with our board this afternoon, along with the Vintners Board and the Wine Growers Board. I think just for a level set in terms of what our charge is, how we're funded through an overhead assessment for the hotel lodges. So the direct charge that we have from our assessment is to drive overnight visitation. We know that a large part of the reason people come to this county is because of the wine industry and recognize that, and we lead that into how we talk about this county, whether it be our PR team or our marketing team. But we have to look at it from just the way that we're assessed. We have to look at overnight stays. However, it is the county. So yes, we do have a larger budget than the Vintners organization. Marketing is expensive. It's the majority of our budget, along with group sales and bringing groups to the destination, and they're an absolute part of that puzzle. So we're excited for the conversation, but I just want to be very realistic about how we're funded and what our charges from our board. And you're a part of the story, but we have to tell the entire story. Yeah, you're a very important piece. So we're excited that you're not.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly.
Ted had brought up something about how the board will ensure good governance and the relationship between the executive director and the board. And this is a absolute utmost importance to us. The current board is reshaping the culture of the board, as well as the expectations and needs from the executive director. So the finances and financial review being like number one, and not just like, here's a couple numbers, but like the real meat and potatoes of the numbers. So that in terms of that, like being chartered or how that's going to like actually make its way into the organization going forward, we're in that process right now. But for sure, the culture that we're creating on this current board is the culture that we intend for the future. And Emily is completely on board with and has re-evaluated how everything is reported first to the board and then out to the membership. And so the short answer is yes. We've looked at that. Our board 6 or 7 months ago realized that we all needed more information and we're having a hard time getting it, which is what prompted our self-audit. So now the next step is really how do we restate or reshape the governance expectations going forward. So that's the intention, is that this culture that we've created on the board is the new future for Sonoma County Vintners.
Okay, I see the question on there, but discussion.
Regarding partnership discussions,
Yeah.
EBAs and other organizations, there be a monetary exchange involved.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the question is when they're talking about monetary exchange between organizations. I think that we're all supporting one another. If you think about our 3 main initiatives, which is just very simplifying it, right? We want to make sure that Sonoma County wine is broadcast way out there. We want to make sure that the wineries and all of the employees and those, that work with us are supported here. We also want to make sure that we're driving tourism. We have 3 organizations, 3 main organizations. not any one of them is responsible for each particular lane. We're all responsible for all of it. For example, Kelly, who just spoke from Sonoma County Tourism, she's in charge of governance. You already heard from Mike Martini. We all have to work together in order to support and make sure that we're working through all of the ways that we're helping to add value to the wineries here. Nobody's paying one another for that. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
I think it
this is
may,
Monica, for those of you on the.
it may also be in relation to the barrel auction, for example, used to give a kickback to the ADAs. So I think that that is more, I'm not sure, but that's how I read that question is, will we be doing that again in those type of partnerships?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's ever happened. I think that there were situations like with the Sonoma Valley vendors and Russian River wine growers at the beginning of the barrel auction. There was a finder's fee that went back to Russian River Valley wine growers. There was, a monetary compensation for the Sonoma Valley vendors, but those things are, those are not on the table. So they were one time, or, they had a limited lifespan.
And no, we wouldn't be charging any of the AVAs or the wine growers have tables and to be part of the educational sessions that are gonna be accompanying the new and improved Port and Explorers going forward. We wanna make sure that we're partnering and actually like sharing the message on how awesome this whole entire community is and how we work together.
Did you have something to add?
I just wanted to add some clarity, having been on both sides of previously Sonoma County vintners during the barrel auction and as now leader of Russian River Valley wine growers. There was a 5-year payout for collaboration for Russian River, for any AVA that contributed, and it was based on the number of lots and cases sold. And so Sonoma County vintners did give an allotment to the AVAs that participated. You had to earn what you got, and so there was a percentage associated with that. I just want to say that I don't think that the conversation at this current moment warrants, a monetary exchange by any means, because I just want to say also that Sonoma County Vintners, to that point, has been the only entity that has given direct funds to the AVAs in the past. So I will applaud them for that in previous, which has led us to be able to continue to support and have a reserve funding, for, up until 2020. I just think that would be a conversation, I think, garnering successes and stability that we would want to have in the future, but at the same time, we all have to build that together. And so I think that that's something that should be a continued point of discussion, given our smaller budgets and also our reach to both wineries and growers. But I do want to say that SCV has been the only entity to give any fiscal payout, maybe tax to AVAs.
And thank you. Thank you.
I'm just curious, Sonoma County vendors used to have an emergency fund that I remember when I was on the board, I think it was after the 2017 fires. Anyway, there was some money that was not to be touched unless there was, like some kind of emergency. Is there still that? Does that still exist?
What?
Yes. It does, yeah, that sits in a separate account that we have with Silicon Valley Bank. We have our operating account for the foundation, and we have that relief account with hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. And that is active God,
Right.
flood, famine kind of resources that's there. Yep.
And Jana, I see your question. We are gonna be, we're also working with Sonoma County Hospitality. So, association.
Any other questions in the room?
We're excited to have everybody on the committee.
I just want to say like,
Are there gonna be, cause I've never gotten an email that's like, be on this committee, be on that, is that coming?
This is the
Okay.
today is the
Okay.
announcement. Yeah. And we're excited to send those out.
Okay.
We look forward to having you on the committee.
yeah.
I would just say, I wanna echo Clay's comment a little bit earlier. We're in a similar boat where it's great, you guys are collaborating, the trio is great, but having clearly defined roles, I think is super important, where we only have so much of a budget to spread, and it feels like there's a lot of overlapping, and I think some of us are wondering how much the collaboration is affecting your funding. Is there any research as to how the
wine growers with their announcement of the collaboration has affected vintners funding.
Like in terms of our
Yeah, it
membership.
feels overlapping. The programs feel a little overlapping. I mean, we're already assessed as growers.
Yep.
And that's not it's not an obligation. We have to do it.
Yep.
So really clearly defined programming is, I think, what we're looking for. So we know where to put our funds.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do with the lanes, right, is to, because I'm in the same boat. I'm like, who does what? Why are we, it's absolutely, I think the right question in the comments, and we feel it too. We see it. So I think this is an attempt to sort of say, this is what they're going to own and drive. There may be some opportunities for our members to take advantage, but again, to Prama's point, if like you want to go deep on that, like they're doing it, they're doing a great job. And we're saying we will collaborate them to do it, but we are not going to create our own program so it can run side by side with their program. And now we're in direct competition for your funds.
Sure.
So we're trying to avoid that as much as possible.
Okay.
Not to say that there won't still be some overlap.
Sure.
But again, I think that even goes to I think it's further support for the long-term work that needs to be done. And so I think it's really emphasizing, we know we have short-term stuff to do to just help out this year, but longer term, like how do we get it so that it's very, very clear what we're all doing, because it is a little confusing right now.
Perfect,
Yep.
great. Since you've got everybody's attention, do you guys want to talk a little bit about the affiliate program and how those additional memberships and then the affiliate membership level might help the vintners all together and what their fees are and?
Yeah, I don't have the details on the affiliates and the affiliate members. Do you guys know off the top of your head percentage wise?
What the fees are?
No, just what the, of the total membership, how many are affiliates?
So typically for the affiliate membership, it's more based on organizations that can provide you resources rather than individual wineries or ADAs. So with that, I believe there's about 30 to 40 affiliate members right now, and they range in different levels depending on like how much engagement they want to have with the vintners, right? So, and then if they want to host seminars and educational programs and things like that. I'm not sure if that answered the question.
I just think you have a large audience that's clued in right now and paying attention, so that's a portion of membership that you might want to speak of, because it does bring in revenue.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of members understand what an affiliate member is.
And we'll commit with the referral program in a communication that goes out. We will include for our vintners information about the affiliate program, so you can speak to it.
Wineries dropping off, so that might be an avenue to backfill. In this kind of transition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. It's an honor to be on this board. It's an honor to be in these conversations, and I think I can speak for the entire board when I say we're passionate and committed to doing the right thing for each and every single one of you. So, are open to feedback and making this a better, stronger community. So, you everyone have thanks. Thanks.